A customer sent me a picture of a cake and asked me to recreate it for her son's birthday. Let me show you how I did it. First, I'm making a soccer ball, as the client wanted a soccer ball along with the racing car figurine on top of the cake. So I'm starting with a ball of white fondant, then adding black and white circles around it to make a soccer ball pattern. Next, I'm making the racing car, which has a retro design. I used red fondant since she wanted a red car, and I cut a hole to form the seat and then added extra details, including the wheels and the sides of the car and the plate number as well. I'm adding the plate number, which I will write the name with the edible marker later on. For the name, I initially planned to pipe it with black buttercream, but I decided to use fondant instead. So I placed the fondant over a printed font because I was concerned that the buttercream might melt, especially since the weather was quite warm over the weekend. So to be safe, I went with fondant for lettering. Here, I'm stacking 4 layers of cake. It's a vanilla sponge cake with vanilla Swiss meringue buttercream in between. So I trim the sides to make them straight and level. This part is quite important because you want a straight edge later on for your cake. So then I added more buttercream to cover the cake, and this step is called crumb coating. So you apply a thin layer of buttercream first to help the cake hold the shape and prevent it from falling apart. And after it's covered, I placed it in the fridge for about 30 minutes. Once it's chilled, I transfer the cake to the cake board. So this is a 7-inch cake and I use a 10-inch board. I added another layer of buttercream on the outside and smooth it out with a cake smoother. So most of the time, you have to repeat this step a few times to get a perfect finish. As you can see, I wasn't too concerned about the imperfect covering at the bottom because I'll be adding layers of blue buttercream that will cover it. And I like the slightly irregular look of the blue buttercream. It gives the cake a mountain-like feel, so I didn't want a straight line. So this is how I like the blue buttercream look. And here I'm smoothing out the blue layer without disturbing the white buttercream underneath. So I was aiming for a nice smooth finish before adding the black and white borders. Now, I think this next step was the most time-consuming part. So I wanted to add black and white squares at the bottom of the cake to create a border. It looks like a racing flag pattern. To make this, I used a rectangle cutter. I could have used square cutters, but they were too large, and the rectangle cutter seems to be the perfect size for the squares. However, I had to cut each rectangle in half to create smaller squares, and then I had to lay them one by one in alternating black and white to form the flag pattern. So this part took quite a bit of time. So I found that using a parchment paper made it easier to arrange the squares. So here I'm just laying them out one by one on the parchment paper, and then brought the paper close to the cake and pressed it onto the buttercream. So some of the squares came off, but you can simply put them back into place. I think it's easier than trying to arrange the squares directly on the cake, as you know, they might not line up as neatly. So as you can see, they line up perfectly here. And now for the final touch, I'm adding the flags on top, and the fondant car, a soccer ball, and yeah, there you have it, a racing car themed cake for Kairaf. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something from this video. Please like and subscribe for more cake tutorials. Thanks again, and see you next time.